a tiny island nation of 5 million people, the last bus stop before Antarctica, is suddenly becoming one of the most fought-over strategic prizes in the Pacific. And most Americans have no idea it's even happening. I'm talking about New Zealand. And right now, 3 of the world's major powers, Japan, India, and Germany, are quietly racing to lock in partnerships with this remote island nation. If you're planning to visit or move to New Zealand, or if you just want to understand the geopolitical chess match reshaping the Pacific, you need to watch till the end. Because what's happening here could reshape global trade routes, military alliances, and even determine who controls the Pacific for the next 50 years. Real quick, if you want the unfiltered truth about what's really happening in New Zealand beyond the tourism brochures, hit subscribe right now. I dig into the stories the mainstream media won't touch. Now let's get into this. Here's what you need to understand. In 2008, New Zealand became the first Western developed country to sign a free trade agreement with China. By 2018, they were Beijing's favorite Western nation, the soft underbelly of the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, as one Canadian report put it. But then, everything changed. By 2024, New Zealand released its first ever public national security threat assessment. And guess who topped the list? China, named specifically, publicly, for foreign interference, cyber espionage, and political meddling. New Zealand's 2025 Public Threat Assessment identified China as first among the states most likely to engage in foreign interference in New Zealand Heritage Foundation. This wasn't a gradual shift. This was a complete strategic flip in less than 6 years. And it's triggered a silent scramble among democratic powers to lock in New Zealand as an ally before it's too late. Let me tell you about Sarah Chun. Sarah's a 32-year-old defense analyst from Wellington. Not her real name, by the way. Back in 2017, she was one of the first people in the New Zealand government to raise red flags about Chinese political interference. She documented suspicious donations to political parties, attempt to leverage the Chinese diaspora, harassment campaigns. Nobody wanted to hear it. New Zealand's economy was booming. China was buying billions in dairy, meat, and wine. Why rock the boat? Then came 2021. In March 2024, New Zealand's intelligence agency accused China of cyber espionage after discovering hacked data systems associated with New Zealand's Parliament Heritage Foundation. The breach actually happened in 2021, but took years to fully uncover and attribute. Sarah told me, and I'm paraphrasing here, that walking in a Parliament House in 2024 felt completely different. Security scanners everywhere. Encrypted devices only. The air thick with quiet urgency. Guards had used to wave her through now checking credentials twice. I felt vindicated, she said, but also terrified, because if they got into our systems, what else do they have? By August 2023, New Zealand published defense strategy documents that completely reversed decades of policy. China wasn't just an economic partner anymore. They were a security threat. And that's when the dominoes started falling. Germany's 2025 coalition agreement emphasized that Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and South Korea are close value partners for Germany and the EU, the diplomat. This isn't just diplomatic language. This is Germany, a country that spent 80 years staying out of Pacific affairs, explicitly naming New Zealand as a strategic priority. Why? Because Japan and Germany have deepened their security and defense cooperation at a rapid pace, with foreign ministers holding their first strategic dialogue in August 2025 East Asia Forum. And both countries desperately need democratic allies in the Indo-Pacific as China becomes more aggressive. Then there's Japan. In November 2025, Japan and New Zealand began government-to-government talks on the improved Mogami-class frigate and how it might fulfill the Royal New Zealand Navy's requirements, Janes. Here's what makes this massive. Most of the Royal New Zealand Navy fleet will reach their end of life by the mid-2030s, Janes. We're talking about a complete naval modernization, potentially billions of dollars. And New Zealand is talking to Japan, not traditional suppliers like the US or UK. This is Japan's opportunity to lock in a long-term defense relationship with a strategic Pacific partner. And for New Zealand, it's about interoperability with their closest allies, Australia, Japan, and the United States. But here's where it gets controversial. Some New Zealanders are furious about this. New Zealand has been nuclear-free since 1987. They banned nuclear-powered ships from their ports, which actually caused a massive rift with the United States that lasted decades. Now they're buying advanced warships and deepening military ties. Critics say this abandons New Zealand's independent foreign policy. Supporters say it's necessary survival in a more dangerous region. But here's the twist most people miss. This isn't just about military alliances. It's about geography. And New Zealand has one of the most underrated strategic locations on the planet. Look at a map. Really look at it. New Zealand is surrounded by the South Pacific Ocean, which influences trade routes and contributes to New Zealand's economy by enabling access to international markets travel pander. But here's the kicker. New Zealand sits at the exact midpoint between Asia and South America. Subsea cables carry 95% of international data transmissions through a network of cables crisscrossing the globe, but a vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean between East Asia and South America remains underserved. Henrich Foundation. Think about what that means. In our hyper-connected world, there's a massive gap in the digital infrastructure connecting two of the world's fastest-growing trade regions. And New Zealand is positioned to fill that gap. There's even a concept called the Southern Link, the idea that the fastest way to move goods, people, and data between Asia and South America's western coast is through New Zealand. This could be worth tens of billions of dollars. Airlines, shipping routes, data centers, financial services, all flowing through New Zealand. And that's before we even talk about Antarctica. New Zealand administers one of the major gateway points for Antarctic research. As climate change opens up new resources and shipping routes in the Southern Ocean, that position becomes even more valuable. Let me introduce you to someone who's capitalizing on this right now. Rahul Kumar, 28, from Mumbai, tech entrepreneur, moved to New Zealand in 2024 right after India and New Zealand signed a customs cooperative arrangement in August 2024 aimed at enhancing trade ties. Rahul saw something most people missed. India and New Zealand formalized diplomatic ties in 1952, but bilateral relations faltered after India's 1998 nuclear tests. However, evolving geopolitical dynamics have opened avenues for realignment in modern diplomacy. Now, in 2024 to 2025, things are completely different. Strategic and defense cooperation has emerged as a quietly growing pillar of the relationship, with shared concerns over maritime security, supply chain resilience, and China's regional assertiveness. Modern diplomacy. Rahul built a payment processing startup that connects Indian tech companies with Latin American markets, using New Zealand as the base. New Zealand is the only Western country with both strong Asian ties and Pacific access, he told me. You can operate in Western time zones, under Western legal systems, but you're physically positioned to serve Asia Pacific. His company now processes payments across 15 countries and employs 40 people in Auckland. While Sarah saw the security threat, Rahul saw the economic opportunity. And both of them are right. Here's what connects all of this, and why it absolutely terrifies Beijing. New Zealand controls more than just its main islands. New Zealand administers the South Pacific Island group of Tokelau and claims a section of the Antarctic continent. Niue and the Cook Islands are self-governing states in free association with New Zealand. Encyclopedia Britannica. These aren't just symbolic relationships. They give New Zealand influence over vast ocean territories, key shipping lanes, and strategic positions throughout the Pacific. And here's where China made its move. In 2024, China and the Cook Islands signed a comprehensive strategic partnership agreement that, while framed as an economic agreement, carries serious security implications for New Zealand Heritage Foundation. Think about what that means. China is trying to peel away territories that are in free association with New Zealand. It's a direct challenge to New Zealand's influence in its own backyard. China has also taken more aggressive measures towards New Zealand, such as conducting live-fire exercises and deploying vessels to the Tasman Sea Chatham House. The message is clear. If you align with the US and its allies, there will be consequences. This isn't just about frigates and trade deals. It's about who controls the Pacific for the next 50 years. If New Zealand fully aligns with the US, Japan, India, Germany, and Australia, China loses its soft entry point into the Pacific. The country that was once Beijing's best Western friend becomes part of an encircling network of democracies. The stakes couldn't be higher. So here's what I want to know from you. Is New Zealand making the right choice, pivoting away from China after being their best Western friend for years? Or are they backing themselves into a corner that'll cost them their biggest trade partner? Because remember, China is New Zealand's largest trading partner and takes twice as much of New Zealand's exports as Australia and the United States combined China-US focus. That's not a relationship you just walk away from without consequences. And here's the bigger question I really want your take on. If you were running a small country of 5 million people caught between superpowers, what would you do differently? Because there's no easy answer here. You can't just stay neutral when major powers are demanding you pick a side. Economic prosperity versus security concerns. Democratic values versus pragmatic trade relationships. Drop your honest take below. And I mean it, if you think New Zealand should stay closer to China, defend your position. If you think they should go all in with the US and allies, explain why. The most thoughtful answer gets featured in next week's video. Speaking of controversial, next week I'm exposing why Americans are being rejected for New Zealand work visas at record rates. And trust me, when you see the real data behind those rejections, you're going to understand why New Zealand's immigration policies are becoming a massive international flashpoint. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. Because I can promise you, it's not what you think.